Welcome back. Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labour is in the Free State this weekend, and it's there with the agriculture portfolio to conduct an oversight on the conditions of farm workers and farm dwellers. For more on this, we're joined now by the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labour, Lindelwa Dunjwa. A very good morning to you, Lindelwa, and thank you so much for your time this morning. So is this a routine visit in the Free State, or is there something particular that you guys are paying attention to?
Good morning, sir, and good morning to your viewers. Well, there was a resolution that was taken by the House on the 10th of November in 2020, instructing both of these committees to go and conduct an intensive oversight on the plight of farm workers, farm dwellers, and farmers. In fact, conditions of living and conditions of work. And then we were given that mandate up to that we must conduct that and report November 2021. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we then requested an extension. So what we are engaged on now is the implementation of that resolution. So we are visiting these farm places, but starting with the stakeholders to listen to them and try and get exactly what are these challenges and what are their views and what is it that they are proposing that as Parliament we are to do. We are two groups, the other group is in Limpopo doing the same thing.
Mama, have you heard anything from coming out of the Free State, of course, about the conditions? I mean, I would imagine that you're not going in there blind, that there is something perhaps you would have heard, perhaps that the conditions are terrible or that, you know, the conditions do need a bit of improvement, but they aren't that bad. Where are we sitting in terms of just how bad or not bad the conditions for farm workers and farm dwellers are in the Free State?
In terms of the stakeholders' engagement, day before yesterday, we were informed and reflected on some of the challenges in terms of the conditions of work and living of the farm workers and farm dwellers and farmers. And in them, they reflected the challenges in terms of law. Remember that it's not that as the country there's nothing that we have done in terms of laws that are governing conditions of employment in terms of vulnerable groups, because farm workers fall under vulnerable groups. And those laws, if I can just quickly reflect on them: Conditions of Employment, Labour Relations Act, Basic Conditions of Employment, Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Disease Act, UIF, and Compensation Fund. As much as those laws are there, as much as that there are some of, as it was reflected yesterday, some of the farmers who are treating their workers in a humane condition, but we still have a challenge in the country of some of the employers in this sector, which is agriculture, who are not complying with these laws. Sorry, and that we were listening to them. And this process, if I can just say it up front, my engagement with you today is not about a report. There is still going to be a report that we are going to table as both groups as a comprehensive report. There are two committees that were given this responsibility, is employment and labour and agriculture. Agriculture then is led by Honourable Mandela, and I am then leading in terms of the employment and labour board. But both these committees are doing the work. Let me say, when we visited a farm, I'm not going to name them now, because we have not yet tabled a comprehensive report. We do feel that we have still got red spots, we have still got challenges. There's more to be done by the country and by farmers themselves. Remember, we are coming to a very difficult past, and I don't think we are to be apologetic about that. We are coming from a very difficult past, and this sector, these vulnerable workers, are one of those workers and people in this country who are still living in challenging, appalling conditions, if I can say that.
Mama, obviously there's still a report that needs to be tabled. There's still a number of more visits, I imagine, that must still happen. So I would imagine also that there is not exactly a clear plan of implementation, but from what you have seen so far, what exactly is then the way forward once this report has been tabled? How aggressive will the implementation be to ensure that we are not having this conversation, let's say, in about a year or two?
Well, thank you for that question. Well, stakeholders and some of in the board, we have 2 public hearings yesterday, also with the farm workers and communities. They did reflect that, one, the Department of Employment and Labour must lift up its socks in terms of inspections and inspectorate, and to ensure that there is compliance, because that is the other thing. There are some serious allegations in that area. 2, they also said they think that there are laws that we are to look into in terms of either amending them so that they then ensure that their conditions are improved and they are living, in particular working and conditions of living. Remember that there is a whole package of service delivery that these workers are to be also be serviced: health, education, and safety and security. They did reflect. We know that there is crime, both employers and employees that are then subjected to, but they really reflected to us that they think that we must look into that, and we must also look into how our officials are really assisting them. It's not all of them. It's not dark and gloom, but they did reflect on some of the areas that, as the committee, we are to, at an appropriate time, remember, we are to follow parliamentary processes in terms of this whole report. And then, as people that were given mandate by the National Assembly, after our deliberation as both these committees, we will then table our report in the National Assembly for debate, because this was a motion that was turned into a resolution that the House must debate these conditions of living and conditions of work of farm workers and farm dwellers in particular. But we couldn't leave farmers behind because they are part of the entire package.
Mama, we will leave it there with you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the South African Morning. That is the Chairperson of the Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labour, Lindelwa Dunjwa.